a beast out of himself. Gets rid of the pain of being a man.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another edition of the 2U's podcast. It's been a while since we've been on the air talking to you. We've had all sorts of things happening, a hurricane, an earthquake, and now let's introduce you to my partner and our own little natural disaster. And TJ, I mean that in the absolute best way. TJ, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much, my friend. It has been too long. And we here at the 2U's, we bring the thunder every day.
Did you survive? That's my question. I know you were in northeastern Pennsylvania, so I don't think you guys got it too bad there. But we had earthquake. I know you felt that, and a hurricane. All in basically the same week.
We're on stable ground up here, brother.
You mountain folk. But no, thankfully our shore towns are still here. We weren't washed away like we were supposed to be, so we're glad to be on the air and coming to you live from beautiful South Jersey, where only a couple weeks of summer remain.
That's right.
And one big topic here, especially in the South Jersey area, I know it stretches all the way up to where you are.
Yes, it does.
The Philadelphia Eagles. They have made the most noise probably in franchise history regarding free agency, the number of guys they picked up. The list goes on and on, from Vince Young to Ronnie Brown, Nnamdi Asomugha, the prize, the free agency jewel, have you. And with that, and Vince Young may not be the smartest guy, but we've heard the phrase dream team thrown around.
Ugh.
And, of course, in the Philadelphia media, you pick up on something like that, it becomes a hotbed topic for weeks. Dream team.
Ugh. Just that phrase, Scott. Just that phrase should send chills right up the back of every Eagles fan in this country. I mean, the second Vince Young said that, he might as well just turned around and painted a huge red bullseye on their backs, because that's what they're going to have. And instead of sneaking up on people, kind of like they did last year with Vic, I really think they're going to get everybody's best shot. I think the question is, and this is what I pose to you, is this team talented enough to overcome being the team with not only something to prove, but that everybody's gunning for?
I think they've proved it last year. I remember going into last year, the pundits were saying this team's young. Cobb's still the quarterback. Vic's behind him. He wasn't even the starter at this point. Cobb's now in Arizona. That they were saying 6-10, 7-9 on a good year. Well, the Eagles went 10-6. They may have gotten a little lucky with that Giants game. Deserved to win, but the Giants, if they win that, they essentially win the division.
Yep.
Regardless, the Eagles win. They make the playoffs. The Giants are out. They are talented enough, and they did pick up some good pieces to do it, to take possibly the next step, and that's win a playoff game under Mike Vick. Andy Reid's done it before, and his early round playoff record has been good. But the question is, are these pieces enough to get them over the hump?
Well, I've been looking at this for quite some time. You and I have both of their depth charts up right now. I think let's talk about the pros first. They're strong in a lot of key areas. They really are. And, I mean, you could go through them ad nauseum. Obviously starts with Vic. You have weapons on the outside. You have a great running back. I mean, you brought in some defensive ends. You hope Jason Babin can be a Pro Bowl guy again with Washburn. You bring in Nnamdi. That's huge. I mean, he's going to shore up the secondary that was already, had some holes in it, but was looking like a strength with the addition of Rogers Cromartie. But the thing that I pose back to you, Scott, is there's some areas where I see that they are really lacking. And I think this Dream Team moniker has really masked some of these areas that fans that are really watching should really be paying attention to, such as this offensive line. Is Jason Peters the player that Andy Reid thinks he is? I don't know. Are Danny Watkins and King Dunlap enough to hold down the right side of an offensive line? I don't know. What's Antonio Dixon give you in the middle? I know Colin Jenkins is there, but you need to rotate those people out. I don't know. How about any one of the linebacker spots? I challenge a casual Eagles fan to name a linebacker or safety on this team. I really do. So there are some spots where you got to be strong up the middle, and I just think they're too much perimeter oriented. Even with Vic, that's the way he plays. And I wonder if you run into the right team in the playoffs like they did last year, I think it could be another early exit year. I really do.
This team, looking at it on paper, is so unbalanced.
Yeah.
And last year, the offensive line, it's not elite. It's not one of the better offensive lines in the league. That's easy to spot if you're an Eagles fan. You've watched, even in the preseason, the vaunted Cleveland Browns defensive line. They smacked around Michael Vick. He was on his back 4 or 5 times, hard hits, getting crunched, and that was the same story last year. They were lucky he survived. He did get hurt and missed a couple games during the season. I remember Kevin Kolb played against the Niners. He beat him, among other games. But this offensive line needs to hold together, and I don't think they got a whole lot better. You add Danny Watkins, he's a rookie. They basically essentially just shuffled around a couple more players. King Dunlap switching positions, Harriman's switching positions, Jackson's back at the center. And they're so skilled. Like we said, they have so much speed and talent at the skill positions. The running back is great. Ronnie Brown is a backup. Dion Lewis, that's an excellent third-string guy.
Yes.
You got wide receivers Macklin, Riley Cooper, Sonoris Moss. You got Steve Smith, throw him into that mix. Deshaun Jackson, Jason Avant. Chad Hall as like the 6th receiver, pretty good.
Yep.
Johnny Lee Higgins, don't forget those guys, And like we said, they're secondary. Samuel, Asamoah, Cromartie, the big 3 back there. They're going to be running around doing stuff, but that's the best of the best. That's the elite.
That's the strength. Yeah.
And
that's
then
the strength.
There's really no middle. It goes to, a little bit below average when you look at the rest of it, and that's the offensive line, the defensive line, and the linebackers like you just touched on.
Yeah. And, I mean, even the safeties. Like, this is my hope, and hopefully Andy Reid's smart enough to see this in my eyes. If Nnamdi Asamoah is not covering the other team's best receiver, regardless of where that guy lines up on the field, I think you can easily beat this defense. I really do. And I think you saw it, last year with Green Bay, who made a mockery of the defense. If you move people around and create matchups with a bunch of different wide receivers, I don't see how these linebackers are covering it, and I don't see how these safeties are helping. Kurt Coleman, Nate Allen, Jaquan Jarrett, you want to tell me that Andy Reid doesn't miss Brian Dawkins yet, Scott?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. He definitely does. He was the leader of that defense. Now, this brings up into another topic. You have Casey Matthews, maybe the only person you could name, in the linebacking core, and that's obviously because of Clay Matthews, how dominant he was.
Because he's not Clay. Yeah.
So we've seen 3 preseason games so far. Casey has been, they said he's been pretty good for 2 of them. In the one game where the Eagles just looked lost, the entire team looked lost, the offense, the defense, that was the Steeler game. Casey Matthews, they said he shouldn't even have played. He didn't even know how to play.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. They've switched, the microphone duties, the coming down, wearing the headset, calling the defensive plays, from the defensive coordinator. They've switched that around. They don't have a solid guy who's doing that. There's no leader on the defense. Nnamdi isn't that guy. Samuel is not that kind of leader. No. Cromartie's new. No. There's no guy. There's no one person who you could, and the closest it comes, maybe, Trent Cole, maybe is that guy.
Maybe.
He's been there the longest. Probably one of their better players. But, there's no solid leader on that defense. And while they may not be able to, while teams may not be able to throw, to the outsides, it's a team that's really lacking in the middle and that the line.
Yes, it is.
The shallow depth of the linebacking core may do them in. And I'm thinking, we're looking at their schedule. They get Dallas twice, and you go up against a dominant tight end like Jason Witten.
Yep. Who's
been notoriously good against them in the past.
Yep.
It doesn't bode well for their defense, up front.
Yeah, any team that's going to have a strong running game and a strong tight end play is really going to give this team trouble. And that's areas that they've always had trouble with, guarding the tight ends. And, I mean, when you got a great tight end like a Dallas Clark or Jason Witten, I mean, they're going to get catches on anybody, good defense or not. But it's the difference between, is that guy really going to beat me today? And when you have a defense that's set up like this, I really think that they can. And you started talking about Casey Matthews. It's not Clay, everybody. It's not Clay. I'll repeat that. People are talking like this guy could come in and be like a second coming. And that's why I'm saying this dream team label is almost like taking everybody's eyes away from the black marks on the car and saying, look at the shiny hood. Like, people really need to understand that they're going to have their problems. Are they going to be explosive? There's no doubt about it. If you're a team that struggles in the secondary or just overall team speed, you're going to have big problems with this team. So there's definitely upside. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, as I'm sure you'd agree. But when you're talking the games that really mean something at the end of the year against really good teams, I truly believe this team's set up to struggle. You got an offensive line that can't protect an otherwise injury risk quarterback. You have a defensive line that it's unknown what you're getting with Babin. It's unknown what you're getting with the other defensive line people. We really know with Trent Cole. It's an unknown in the linebacking core, and especially Casey Matthews. He's only been at the Novacare complex a month. And people are talking like this guy should be able to handle the Mike linebacker job for a playoff team. I just think that's...
Yeah, let's tell you why this is a stupid thing, this whole dream team thing. First of all, it's not a dream team. We talked about this before the podcast. The dream team was the 18-1 team. That was the closest to the 72 Dolphins perfect season
would be
that we've had. Now, you can match up certain positions. You can match up certain players. We've gone through Brady and Vic. We've gone through Jackson versus Moss, this year versus that year, stats versus stats. And you may be close on some players, but as a whole, this team is not. And let me just remind you where this dream team talk came from. The guy who said it, he's not even going to be on the field.
Nope. That irked me too. Vince Young says we're a dream team, and he's not part of the dream. He must be dreaming.
Who are you? You're the backup quarterback who doesn't understand the offense. That's what they've said. That
he didn't even know
Kafka has played. He's been better. He had the second highest passer rating through the first 2 games of the preseason.
That's great. Yeah, Vince Young doesn't know the offense, but he knows they're going to be a dream team. Come on, buddy.
Jason Babin, who they didn't want and sent away.
Yeah, they left him
back.
go.
And he's got, the defensive coordinator that he likes, the guy who will, use him to the best of his ability. But, is he the end-all, be-all solution at defensive end?
Is Jim Washburn playing middle linebacker? Because unless he's lining up next to Kurt Coleman or Jamar Chaney, there's only so much impact the guy could have. He can't hold Jason Babin's hand in the games. Is Jason Babin a good player? Yeah, he's pretty decent. But as you alluded to, they let him go the year before. He goes away and has a Pro Bowl year, and now he comes back, and it's just going to be seamless. This is not going. That's probably the thing that bothers me the most. In a truncated offseason, this is not going to be as seamless as everyone expects. There are going to be injuries. There are going to be miscues. The veteran teams here, the teams that have continuity, are the ones that are going to thrive. The Packers, the Colts, even though it's kind of hard to believe, the Patriots, even the Jets, they're the teams that are really going to thrive in this system. The Eagles, they're just not built that way. Too many moving parts, too many questions. It's not enough time to answer it for me, Scott. I don't know what you think.
Well, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Dream team or not, their schedule looks favorable at the beginning. They have games. San Francisco could be a win at home. Buffalo. They have Washington, probably going to be the last place team in that division. Arizona's in there. If they can stay healthy, what's the potential of this team?
If they're healthy, I think they have enough speed to challenge for 11 wins. If Vic stays upright and the line plays better than we're expecting, they could be a 12-win team. But if it all goes south and there's some injuries, they could be a 9-win team. I'm not sure, though.
I think they have too much talent. I'm going to call 11 wins. I think it's 11-5. I'm not going to go through the schedule, look at all the games, but I think, they were 10-6 last year. I think they could be a better team, but again, that all depends on Vic's health. And I think he'll make it for a majority of this season. We won't see Vince Young or Mike Kafka. I'm going to go 11-5, and the NFC East champions. That's my pick.
I'll go 10-6, and hopefully it'll turn out well.
All right, that's the Philadelphia Eagles, the story of the 2011 Dream Team. We'll see if it really happens. TJ, wrap it up.
Hey, have a good night, everybody.
Take care.